So, what we see is that this woman his mercies were extended to this woman of an outside nation. And so like we were saying, he said he hadn't seen or heard that kind of faith throughout all of Israel. But that was said because when Mashiyach came on the scene, I should say, you know, those that were in rule were in opposition against him. You know, they were in a position where they were working for the Roman occupation. And they were wealthy. It's kind of like the, what we call the black boule here. These people have, or that 1% or that percent of the 1% that have power here in America. You know, they live a totally different lifestyle than you live. They have a certain amount of prestige that unless Yahuah gives it to us, we wouldn't have it. But we want to obtain that until he returns. So that's why when they're fulfilling the offices, even within government, there's not much they can say to benefit you. There's not much they can do to benefit you, because the laws that are written within the legislation here in the Constitution, they're not designed to protect you. That's not going to happen. They're not designed for that. And they were never designed for that. So when you go study history and you study the origin of the Constitution and why it was set up to protect one group of people and one entity of that people. The Constitution was set up to protect wealthy European white male. That's why the Constitution was set up. It wasn't there to protect the women, no matter about them being white. It wasn't there to protect the slaves, you know. It was there to protect the European white male in America. That's why the Constitution was set up. And when it's addressed and when it's written to the people and for the people, you were not included in those persons as being those people. Matter of fact, when it was written, you were still what? Still slaves, and you were still counted with what? The livestock. You weren't even considered a fully human. You were still counted with the livestock.
1/5 of a person. That doesn't make no sense.
Exactly. So what you see is him extending his grace to an outside nation. So let's go look at something. Let's go to John or Yahuah 10. And we're going to start reading at about verse 13. You kids got here? Around the loose? Can you get that for me? Okay. Yahuah, John 10, verse 13 through 16.
John 10:13. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine.
Stop right there. He said the hireling what?
Fleeth.
Fleeth. Go ahead.
As the Father knows me, even so know...
Go back up to about the hireling fleeth.
The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and cares not for the sheep.
He cares not for the sheep. That's very important.
I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine.
Stop right there. He said, I'm the what? Good shepherd. And I know what?
My sheep.
My sheep. That's very important, because you hear me a moray, a chief moray, or senior moray, Sadawai here. You hear us talk about all the time. Language is important. You never hear him refer to anybody outside of Israel as sheep. That's very important. So if you see the word sheep anywhere, when you read the quote-unquote New Testament, you have to know it's talking about Israel. Only Israel is referred to sheep. Only Israel is referred to wheat. Whenever you see the word wheat anywhere in Scripture, from Genesis to Revelation, it's always talking about Israel. Whenever you see the word sheep anywhere in Scripture, it's always talking about Israel. That's very important. Go ahead.
As the Father knows me, even so know I the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring.
Stop right there. He said, I lay down my life for what?
Sheep.
The sheep. He said, I lay down my life for the sheep. What does it mean for him to lay down his life for the sheep?
He died.
Okay, he died. Does it mean just dying on it?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice of giving up his will, everything, on behalf of what?
The sheep.
His sheep, his people. So, when we see that, he said, I have what? Other what?
Sheep.
He said, I have other sheep which are not of what?
This fold.
This fold. Who or what is this fold?
Judah.
The house of Judah. He said, I have other sheep which are not of this fold. This fold being the Judah. How do we know that?
That's easy to lie to
If we look at the Talmudim, what tribe did they all descend from?
Judah. Southern Kingdom.
They all descend from the southern kingdom. That was the fold his other sheep were not what? Of. But what fold would the other sheep have been of?
Northern Kingdom.
Northern kingdom, the house of Israel. How do we know that? Remember, he said, I have other sheep which are not of this fold. What? I have other sheep which are not of this fold.
That I must bring.
That I must what?
Bring.
That I also must bring in, or I must bring. How do we know that other sheep which were not of the fold of the house of Judah or the house of Israel? Because did we not read up in Matthew 15:24, Matthew 10 and 5? He said, I'm only what? Sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That's right.
He told his disciple, go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Very important. Okay then. He said, also have sheep which are not of this fold, who also must bring in. He said, which are what? Did he not show possession? He said, they are mine. Go ahead.
Just a quick question, because I've heard many people go here before. They'll say that other sheep, they'll say it's a bigger sheep, 29, and 2, where it talks about you seeing those three flocks, and those three folds of sheep. So I've heard some say, see, those are the Goyim, those are the other nations. And I've also heard people say, that's Jerusalem, that's for those who dwell in the city, not these other nations. This is a common question, which I see a lot of people.
Right, but that's what I like about this. When we go to the book of Hosea, when he speaks about the condition of the things that will befall the house of Israel, he said they would be a people, he would not show them mercy, and what else? He was going to scatter them. So, when we come back to the New Testament, even Apostle Shaul goes into the language. That's a reason why when he's speaking to these same people who are mistakenly called Gentiles, he goes all the way back to the prophet. Because it has to be what? Precept upon precept, line upon line. Here little, there little. So you cannot have an understanding one way in the New Testament and it not confirm what has been already written in the Old. So that's why they always use the words of the prophet and go back. So when it speaks about that sheep, even all throughout the New Testament, he referred to them as sheep. So when we get to the New Testament, the language doesn't change. It's still referring to those people as sheep. Go ahead, Aki. What did we stop at?
I didn't finish 16.
Okay, you sit, go ahead.
And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
So how will they be one fold and have one shepherd?
If they came together.
They're going to come together. He's going to what? Reunify or bring them back into a card, oneness. So we know that would validate and confirm our answer the question that you just, the statement you just made, saying what the some people, address or their school of thought. Let's go to the Yahuah 10 and 6. Oh, okay. Let's go to Yahuah 11. Let's start at verse 47. All the way down to 54. John 11, 47 down to verse 54. See, the Shabbat we said 7-11. Y'all 7-11. Okay. Shalom Yel. Yahuah 11 or John 11, starting at verse 47 all the way down to verse 54.
So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation."
Stop right there. Remember earlier what I was saying, why Mashiyach was facing opposition? Because some of our people had been put in these positions, and they were very wealthy. They had a lot of power and prestige. Because, you know, whenever a nation conquers another nation, they occupy that land, they set up some of those, what we would call traders. They put them in positions and stuff to rule and govern their own people. Why is that? To keep them keep them outside, and to keep also an insurrection from forming and arising.
Isn't that why they set up the preachers in Christianity during the slave time?
That's exactly why. That's exactly why. Because, you know, all before, the slaves had to listen to the European or the slave master. They gave them the word. But what they eventually did was they set up their own people, put them in position as pastors over them, but they told them what they had to preach and say.
So like churches, like as far as like how the politicians go to the churches today, right?
Right. It's the same thing. That's why even with like 2 or 3 of the churches I used to play for, when I was at organist or keyboardist, even though they knew what I would tell them was right, the pastor would always tell me, he's like, "Elder Hudson, what you said, you're right. I know we're the people." He said, "But because the people have, you know, heard one thing so long," he's like, "I just can't share that truth with them." He said, "Because, you know, I'm in the Baptist Union. And, you know, I can lose my job, and then I can't take care of my family. Because they have a certain doctrine that they have to teach. They can't stray or go outside of the boundaries or outside the lines of that doctrine or teaching. No matter how much they research and find out the truth for themselves, they have to teach or stay within the doctrine of that union." It's the same with all the institutionalized churches and stuff. All the institutions that have boundaries and stuff, they have to teach doctrines within within those parameters. Thank you. So, and this is the same thing we're going. This is why you put people of the people who you conquer over them, because they can keep them docile. They can keep them from uprising or having insurrection. And so this is what happened even in Jerusalem at the time. That's why I said that there's a good book out called Judea Trembles Under Rome by Rudolph Windsor. It breaks down all of this stuff. And it goes into to show you what was going on in Rome. This is why Mashiyach and the Talmudim, y'all don't find it strange, find it strange that they face so much opposition from their people, from his very own people. Faced a lot of opposition. This is why. And so, let's go ahead and read that Yahuah 11, start at 47.
All right. So the chief Kohan and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And the Romans will come and take away both our place that year said to them.
So start right there. Why would they say he's going to take our place in our nation? What nation was this? They would take our place and our nation. It was Southern Kingdom. They were under Roman occupation, but they still let them stay kind of intact and do their thing within certain parameters, like you say. And they didn't want to lose that. So when Mashiyach came in, he saw exactly what was going on. He saw what he was up against. And do you remember when he cursed the fig tree? Why did he curse the fig tree? And who did he say the fig tree was symbolic of, representation of?
Israel.
Not so much Israel, but it was the Pharisees. Because they were the one in power. They were the one who should have been what? Teaching and shedding light and bringing light to the people. It was the Pharisees. They had that job. Even though there wasn't a Kohen or a priesthood at that time, so to speak. Not the one that Yahuah set forth anyway. So what you see is opposition, because you have these wicked people of his own people in opposition with him, because they were fearing that they would lose their prestige and power because of his message. And you can find, let me tell you how you notice that his message was powerful. Do you know what we call a mega church today? That was a typical crowd for Mashiyach. That's a typical crowd that fall in 5,000, 10,000. When you hear him count feeding 5,000, remember that was just the men. He hadn't even counted the women and children. And how many times have you ever went to a congregation or a gathering and the men outnumber the women and children? So you got to know how many of them it was. So go ahead, I keep saying, go ahead.
49. But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, says to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish."
So who was that? Who was this one man? Yahusha. Who's the people?
Yashra'al.
With Yashra'al.
Southern Kingdom.
Okay, so the people are Southern Kingdom. Huh? That what Kyle was saying? What is Shabbat saying? Somebody go help me out? Who is this people?
It's talking about the entirety of the nation, right?
No.
No, because they were quick, so it wasn't something.
Say,
Well, it would be Southern Kingdom because he just said they'll take our nation in our place.
and what it says is not, it's expedient that one man should what?
Die for the people. And let the whole nation perish.
Okay, then so who would the people in that nation be?
Well, Northern Kingdom.
Oh, Southern Kingdom.
So I was right.
Yeah, but I want to be sure. Because you asked me like you weren't sure. So let's keep reading.
He did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahusha would die for the nation.
The die for the nation being Yahudah.
And not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of Elohim who are scattered abroad.
Okay, then. Gather in the children of Yahweh who have been scattered abroad. The house of Israel, Jezreel, how we would say it in English. And what was the whole purpose of Hosea naming that child Jezreel?
And they were sold.
They were sold. What does Jezreel mean?
So scattered.
Yahuwah said what?
Yahushua soul was scattered.
He was scattered. The house of Israel were the children who were what? Scattered abroad. Okay, then go ahead.
So from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. Yahusha therefore no longer walked openly among the Yahusha.
Stop right there. They plotted to do what? And they made plans to do what?
Kill him.
Kill
Kill
him.
him.
And it says that Yahusha no longer what?
Well,
Walked amongst the Yahudim. But let's see where he started taking his journey, where he started walking.
but went from there to the region near the wilderness to a town called Ephraim. And there he stayed with his disciples.
He stayed with his disciples. Where? In a tall town called Ephraim. And who is the house of Israel named after?
Ephraim.
Ephraim. So what we're seeing here, Yahudah didn't just die for that nation of Yahudah. He also died for who? The house of Israel, Yashra'al. The people of his fold plotted to kill him, so he knew he couldn't walk amongst them. So what did he have to do? He had to leave that. He left and took his disciples and Talmudim with him, and they went into the wilderness and entered into Ephraim. But there's a whole lot going on with that right there. Because you're also going to see, like I said, I guess when we go back and touch another lesson, you're going to see where he takes the throne of Yahudah, which is commonly called the throne of Judah, from the house of Judah that he established and placed it on the house of Israel. But him being Mashiyach still sits on the throne. So he leaves Yahudah and he entered and walked among who? You can look at your side on one point. I'm and he entered into what? Ephraim. Let's go to it was funny when you were looking back. Okay, then he entered a city called Ephraim. There he remained with his Talmudim. Okay. Let's go to Hosea 1 right quick. Man, that was funny the way you did it. Because when you look at this, what's going on in Jerusalem at this time? Ever since the Mashiyach came, his disciples, there's a lot going on in Jerusalem at that time. You notice that there's no what? There's not no Torah, no truth, or anything going out of Jerusalem. So therefore, he speaks of this through the prophets of the Old Testament. We're going to see some. Even when we go to Jeremiah, we're going to go to several books and see how this throne or this branch, it has to thrive. It has to thrive. And what can it not do in Jerusalem? It can't thrive in Jerusalem. So to keep the whole branch from being destroyed, well, he has to remove it. He has to place it somewhere where it can what? It can prosper and produce and bring forth fruit. But the scepter does not depart from Judah. Why? Because he still sits on that throne. Hosea, what did we go 1 to 10? Shalom Yel.
Yet the number of the children of Yashra'al shall be like the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And in the place where it is said to them, you are not my people, it shall be said to them, children of the living out of the womb.
Go ahead.
And the children of Yahudah and the children of Yashra'al shall be gathered together, and they shall appoint for themselves one head, and they shall go up from the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel.
Okay, let's go to Hosea 2 and 19 all the way down to 23. So you are not my sons, but he said they shall be called his sons. Sons of the what? Living Elohim.
And I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in steadfast love and in mercy. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know Yahuah. And in that day I will answer, declares Yahuah. I will answer the Shemaims, and they shall answer the Arets. And the Arets shall answer the grain, the wine, and the oil, and they shall answer Jezreel. And I will sow her for myself in the land, and I will have mercy on no mercy. And I will say to not my people, you are my people, and he shall say, you are my Elohim.
Okay, we're going to read one more scripture. Let's go to 1 Peter Peter 1 and 1. Then we're going to go 1 Peter 2, verse 1 through 10. Shalak get 1 Peter 2, verse 1 through 10. And Shalak, you can get 1 Peter 1 and 1.
Kappa, an apostle of Yahusha HaMashiach, to those who are elect exiles of the dispersion of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia.
Okay. Keep going.
According to the foreknowledge of Elohim, the Father, and the sanctification of the Ruach, for obedience to Yahusha HaMashiach, and for sprinkling with his blood, may grace and shalom be multiplied to you. Baruch be Elohim, the Abba of our Master.
Okay, let's go back up to verse 1. But I was reading something else out ahead of it. Go ahead.
Okay. Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to those who are elect exiles of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia.
Okay, then. He said what? Those what? The exile of the dispersion. And he let you know, he said in what? Pontus? Galatia. All of these places. He said what? Cappadocia, Asia. So he's addressing the people that are in exile. Okay then.
What version are you reading from?
ESV.
I'm reading from the ESV.
That's the ESV.
Yeah, this revised standard version. But go. What did yours say?
It says, Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to the strangers that are scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and which is the same places that's in Acts.
Yeah.
It's the same city.
It's the same
Acts
thing.
chapter 2.
But it says strangers?
Yes,
Yeah, it says strangers.
It's the
The
strangers.
King James says strangers.
That can get a little confusing.
Uh-huh.
No, if you don't read that and you see strangers,
No, it's actually clearer.
Yeah, it is.
compared to exiles?
It's calling them Gentiles.
To the strangers that are scattered
Right.
abroad.
To the strangers that are scattered abroad. But so I like that because it says strangers that are scattered abroad. So when we read now, Hosea 2 and 1. Right.
Hosea 2 and 1. Shit. I mean, first Peter 2 and 1.
So I'm watching. Go ahead.
First Peter 2 and 1?
I mean, 1 Peter 2 and 1.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. If so, be ye have tested that Yahuah is favorable or gracious, to whom coming as into a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of Elohim, and precious. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a set-apart priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Elohim by Yahushua HaMashiach. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore which believe, he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a set-apart nation, and a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of Elohim, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy.
So where did we just read this?
We just read this in Hosea.
In Hosea. We read this same thing in Hosea. So this is why I said when the apostles speak, when they are expounding on something, they're always going back and they're pulling from what has already been written in the Torah and the prophets. We heard him say this about the house of Israel. So now let's jump down to Romans 22, Romans 9 and 22. From the 9th verse, from the 22nd verse all the way down to the 26th verse. Romans 9 and 22 to 26. We're going to ask one of our Kotis, Koti Shema, if you would get Romans 9 and 22 and go to verse 26.
Romans 9 and 22. What if Yahuah, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which have before prepared unto glory, even us whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles.
Stop right there. This is where the confusion comes in. That's why we had to build a bridge and give you all of this backdrop on the house of Israel and the split of the house of Jacob into two kingdoms. It says, even us whom he called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Now, the important thing is to notice, watch what he says in the following verse. Not of what? Not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Now, people will take that and act like the 25th verse didn't say anything. They should read on, go all past that. Let's go to the 25th.
Romans 9 and 25. As he said also in Hosea.
Stop right there. As he said also where?
Hosea.
In Hosea. As he says also in Hosea. What does he say in Hosea?
I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved.
Stop right there. He said, I will call her my people who were, he said, what? Who were not my people. I will call them my people who were not my people. Why would Apostle Shaul be speaking to a foreign nation about a book that they would not have known anything about Hosea or these writings? Yep. He's speaking to his people. That's why it's very important to hone in and focus on what is written when you're reading. He would not be talking to bloodline Romans and all these different people or outside nations or Europeans saying, as it was what? As was written also in the book of Hosea, they would not have known anything about Hosea. That would have been foreign to them. Yep. This is why it's important to see what's going on and how important it is to make sure when you're reading you stay within context of what is written. Context is very key to understanding when it comes to the Bible or the Hebrew Scripture. It's very important. So he said, as he say also in Hosea, I will call them my people who were not my people. Go ahead, continue.
And her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, that they shall be called the children of the living Elohim.
Stop right there. Thank you so much. And where was this place that they were not called his people?
Hosea 1 and 10.
Huh?
You got what, Hosea 1 and 10?
Hosea 1 and 10? Get that word.
Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Yashra'al shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, There it should be said to them, you are the sons of the living Elohim.
So when we look at this, who was the portion of the house of Jacob that was identified as being the children of Israel? It was southern kingdom, the house of Judah. And where were they? In Jerusalem. Were they calling the northern kingdom their brethren?
Nope.
In Jerusalem?
Nope.
So where's the place where it was said that they were not his people, they should be his people?
Northern kingdom.
It's in their land. Northern kingdom will be identified and called his people in the land that was promised to them. In Jerusalem. That's home. Didn't it say Jerusalem is mother to us all? But you know they were not called his people in Jerusalem at that time. Because their brethren, the southern kingdom, didn't want to have any dealings with the northern kingdom. That's why Apostle Paul or Shaul always rebuked Peter. It was for that reason, because when he came around his brethren of the house of Israel, he would start acting funny and changing their ways. Or feeling some type of way. And then guess what? Apostle Shaul would have to do what? He would have to rebuke